All right. It is now 6 o'clock. I'm calling the meeting to order for the March 16th Redevelopment Commission meeting. If staff would please take roll call.
Chair Clausen.
Present.
Commissioner Kendall.
Present.
Commissioner Bigelow.
Present.
Commissioner Meehan.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Amanda. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters not on the agenda. The Commission's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Are there any communications from citizens at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I have no requests from citizens to speak at this time.
All right. We now move into administrative item number 1, considering approval for the minutes of the regular meeting held on February 16th, 2022. Are there any edits the Commission wishes to make? Do I have a motion for the Redevelopment Commission regular meeting and study session minutes for February 16th, 2022?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes from our February 26th meeting.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All right. With that, I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Meehan?
Approve.
Commissioner Bigelow?
Approve.
And Commissioner Kendall?
Approve.
And I too approve. The motion passes. I will now open the public hearing for DR 21-141 Semino Gelato. Items will be heard at one public hearing, at which time anyone wishing to comment on a public hearing item may do so. Comments will be heard from those in support of or in opposition of the item. In order to comment on a public hearing item, you must fill out a public comment form indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. Once the hearing is closed, there will be no further public comment unless requested by a member of the Commission. After public hearing, the Commission may act on all items not requiring additional staff, public, or Commission comment with a single vote. If staff would please come forth to provide a presentation on item DR 21-141 Semino Gelato.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Ava Kutro, and I'm the Planning Manager for the Town of Gilbert. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to discuss Semino Gelato. This is in the Heritage District at, just a moment, it's coming up. And some of you may be familiar with this site. This was brought before you 2 years ago for approval of a design review, but the applicant has scaled back that design, and so this is a new design that you're seeing this evening. The property is located at 339 North Gilbert Road, along Vaughan Avenue in Gilbert, just north of Oso and south of Culinary Dropout. This is the current condition of the site. It's a small site, about 1/10 of an acre, with an existing building. The building is about 2,400 square feet, and as you can see, it hasn't been renovated in quite a few years. As I mentioned, in February of 2020, this site was before the Redevelopment Commission and was approved for a larger scaled remodel. That actually increased the size of the structure, included the gelato shop that is currently proposed, but also a churro stand and a covered patio. But the applicant has decided to scale back that design, and since the new design was not in substantial compliance with what was approved 2 years ago, it's before you again this evening. So the current request is an exterior renovation to include new paint, replacement windows and doors, but in the same locations, new mechanical equipment that's roof mounted, so they are also adding a mechanical screen on the roof, about a 40 square foot fire riser room in the front on the left side of the image, patio enhancements, and lighting. What may look different on this image than what was in your packet is over the weekend the applicant made some renovations based on feedback they received from staff and the Commission, and are proposing an awning out front now to provide additional shade over the entry and over the first row of tables and chairs. And then they still have the umbrellas and the tables along the street. Here is the proposed site plan. As you could see, the interior of the building gets completely remodeled to change it to a gelato shop, and the exterior of the building now has the large awning attached to the front. It has the 40 square foot fire riser room that was required by code. It also has tables and chairs that line the street with umbrellas. It has 3-foot tall tubular steel fencing that encloses the patio. A new street tree is proposed that will be a red push pistache. And 2 bicycle racks are also along the street. They are under the existing tree and the proposed tree. There are also 28 parking spaces required for this shop. However, those are all contained in the garage, and 31 spots are actually allocated to this, so they have enough parking. This gives you an idea of what the exterior remodel will look like. The top image is the existing elevation, and as you could see, it's a very simple elevation for a smaller, older building. The lower picture, you can see on the top they have a faux chimney that will screen the mechanical equipment that's on the roof. What's shown in black is the new awning that comes off of the face of the building. All the windows and doors on the front facade are being replaced with newer, more energy efficient materials. And as you can see, the door is no longer centered. It's off to the side, but the windows and doors are still within the same openings. They've just shifted one set of windows and the set of doors. You can also start to see in here the image of the steel fencing, the 3-foot high fencing enclosing the patio, and you can see some poles that come out of that fencing. Those you will see will support string lights that are proposed for the outdoor lighting. The building is still very low in height, about 17 feet tall. What is shown here is the materials board, and I think the actual board is behind you. Some of the colors weren't showing up right when we printed it or on the computer screen, so the applicant did provide an actual materials board. The exterior paint color will be a muslin, and then a darker color around all the trim. You can see the faux brick for the chimney, the roof tiles or shingles. You can also see now the lighting fixtures. These have also changed from what was in your packet, and that was at staff's request. The upper corner light, that is the light attached to the walls by the windows and doors, that originally was a lantern light, and you could see the light source, and staff did ask that they consider a fully recessed light source, and that is what they are proposing. You could also see the string lights below that. You can see some of the string lights have little caps on them. That's because staff recommended that any string lights within 10 feet of the property boundary be fully hooded and shielded. So they do have that now in this image. And here you could see what they propose the finished product to look like. You can see the awning there covering the first row of tables. You can also see in this image that the large expanse of asphalt that was out front is now removed and replaced with concrete. You could also see the fencing that surrounds the patio, as well as the poles that will have string lights attached to them. And the square box on the left side is the new 40-foot riser room. Here you could see how the string lights will be strung, the pattern from the poles to the building and back. And you could also see attached to the building 3 of the wall lights. The next just shows the interior and how the inside of the gelato shop will look, as well as showing a bit more of the patio. And staff looked at the 5 findings of fact and believe that this application does meet all 5 findings. However, if the commission does wish to approve this application, staff is recommending the following 7 conditions. The first 2 are standard, that the project conform to the new plans and also to the Design Review Board adopted documents from 2004. Number 3, alerts you to the fact that signing is not included in this approval and that administrative design review is required for signage, which shall come later. It talks about how the trash will be transported and that it will go to the trash compactor on Vaughan Avenue in the parking garage. It reminds them that the proposed street tree shall be a Chinese pistache. And then it gets into a little detail on the string lighting. As I mentioned before, the string lighting must have a setback of 10 feet. If they cannot have a setback of 10 feet, then the lights must be fully shielded, and those are the caps that they were showing in the image. And the lights must also be mounted at 14 feet in height or below. I believe that they're proposing 8.5 feet as the height of the mount for those lights. And at the property line, all exterior lighting cannot exceed 0.3 foot candles. The last stipulation was not in the staff report because it is a new one, and it just is that the lighting fixture and awning shall conform to the exhibits that were revised today. So just to, if you do make a recommendation for approval, it would be with the stipulations outlined in the staff report, plus the additional stipulation about the lighting fixtures and the awning conforming to the new drawings that were submitted and that I believe you have in front of you now. So staff is recommending that the commission approve the finding of facts and approve DR 21-141, including the site plan, landscape, elevations, floor plan, lighting, and the colors and materials for the 0.11 acres at 339 Gilbert Road, subject to the 6 conditions in the staff report, plus the additional condition regarding the awning and light fixtures. And it was a small, simple site, so that concludes my presentation, but I'm certainly available for any questions, and the applicant's representatives are here as well. They have additional slides if there were additional plans you'd like to see, and are also available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff?
Are they going to serve Rocky Road?
They do have a variety, and they do have a shop in the Scottsdale Historical District.
Submittal Rock. Oh, perfect.
And I think that is the specialty flavor because that's what I was told to try when I went.
Approved. Real question. When we looked at this 2 years ago, there was a little bit of an issue with Creamer Street, and that they, on the side of their building, they have that hookup that they've been backing their trucks up to. Is there a solution, or what's kind of the plan with that?
If you could please, I'm sorry, you need the microphone. I'll bring it over to you.
We're willing to move it. We just haven't pushed them to move it yet.
Cool.
That's it. Yeah, they're just, they agreed to move it, and they're willing to move it. So.
Well, I think it's your land, and you know, your right of passage. But as long as there's a solution or something figured out about that, so. And then as far as signage goes, and this would be good to ask you, I know you have that that fire rise right there. Is that where you're thinking? I know you don't have a sign yet, or do you know where on the building you would be putting the sign once you get one designed?
Honestly, it seems like we would just want you guys to tell us where to put it. we submitted when we've come back and forth, and we're like, what do you guys want? Just tell us, we'll do it.
Okay, cool. That I think just a suggestion. I think your signage or a mural or something right there, because I love the windows in the front. I love the Remodel. I love all that, but that's the one spot that you could really draw an eye to and give it some color and kind of give it something. And then obviously, I don't know if it's a requirement, but the LED just kind of following the same stuff that's going on down there. I think it would look really good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we want to make it look good. And
so, perfect. Well, that's it for me.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have a question. It's on the elevation 2, the west elevation, and it's talking about the goal of replacing the shingle color. Do we know? And then there's another note about not wanting to rate that roof. Do we know how old that roof is and And why do we not want to rate the roof when it's less than 5 feet from the adjacent building?
I'll come back to the applicant.
Okay. The owner, because of COVID and material prices, he's not willing to put in the money. So he's trying to do something here as feasible as possible for him. And it's getting to the point where he's almost looking at backing out. Because, you know, when COVID hit and I can't remember who I met with, but they made it sound like we were just going to come in, let us remodel and turn and go. Then we found out he's been landlocked from water. He has no water for the fire risers. So it's going to cost him an arm and a leg to get water there. You guys abandoned the water in Gilbert Road, so he has no access to water anymore. So, yeah, the initial plans that were approved, he was redoing the whole roof, everything, and it's just not feasible for him right now.
So, yeah, that's there's frustrations with developing old buildings. I get that. I don't know of a roofer out there that's going to replace the shingles, and if you have old underlayment, not make you re-roof it anyway if you're going to maintain a warranty. So at that point, now you're doing it as a maintenance item, and you still didn't have to bring it into compliance with life safety and having it be 1 hour rated.
Is your concern the visible shingles on the outside?
Well, the shingles and then the awning, I didn't see anything about the awning fabric being rated, and it's just so close to the adjacent building. So,
I mean, at this point, I think we could get rid of the shingles if you guys don't want to get rid of the shingles, and we just take the block up and make it all the screen wall, you know, instead of having the chimney screen wall. Just get rid of the what is it, a Dutch mansard roof?
But the shingles are being replaced with the new color scheme. So we have that on the materials board too.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a commercially rated awning, so it will be fire rated. So we have replaced the shingles with the new color scheme, and the awning is a commercial grade, and it will have a fire rating.
so then for my clarity, are we approving the finish aesthetic, or are we actually approving the materials? And if it goes into the city and your plan reviewer comments on that, I just want to, how does this work?
You are approving everything, the design and the materials. However, if there is a change to the materials that's necessary by our building reviewer, then it would come to me to see if it's in substantial compliance with what was approved.
Okay, thank you.
You can keep those up there.
In one of the first pictures that we saw, there's actually a sign right there, the OSO sign, and I believe there's also the pet spa sign on there as well. Will that remain?
That will remain. When that sign was put up, the applicant was informed that that could possibly be blocked, and they were aware of that. But with the current design, the awning doesn't extend out that far, and it would just be umbrellas may or may not partially block that when they're up.
Okay, and we, Commissioner Bigelow talked about, is that a clean out?
That is where they fill the, I think it's hydrogen or nitrogen for the creamistry.
Okay. There's also a driveway there. Will that be built for a curb? And if so, who does that?
There is no curb proposed there. There's actually fencing that would go around there. And the creamistry has been informed that they need to relocate that valve. And there were discussions of them relocating that to the front of the building and getting their deliveries at off hours. because the truck may have to stop on Gilbert Road.
Okay. But is there not a driveway that pulls directly into that building right now? Or is it curbed?
There is a driveway. It splits this property and the property to the north of it. So, but we have to tear that whole sidewalk up to put the water line in. So we're going to curb it.
Okay. Is the town responsible for that? Or is that the builder?
No, the builder is responsible for that.
What colors are we looking for the awning?
We're proposing the gray and white. We have the dark trim on the windows. We have the dark gray on the replacement shingles. So we have the white that goes with the muslin of the building and the gray stripe, gray and white stripe.
If you look at the image before you, it is on the bottom, the second to last one.
And then the string lights, will they be attached to the building itself?
They are attached to the poles and strung to the building.
Okay. And then is there an opportunity for a misting system or a fan, something to keep the patio? I know the blacktop will go away, so that'll help a lot, but
Thank you for asking, Commissioner Kendall. We did bring that up with the applicant. They had no plans for that at this time. Has that changed?
A misting system is not an issue. We can easily fabricate a misting system throughout that. A fan, there's nothing structurally going over the patio to put a fan there.
I also agree with Commissioner Bigelow. I think you have an opportunity to create some type of artwork or mural or something to tie it all together in that riser room.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we can just put the signage on.
Would the applicant like to come speak at this time?
If you have any further questions or suggestions,
I do, yeah.
we might respond to those.
So I've got a couple of questions here. Discussion on the asphalt shingles was brought up, and I think I heard you guys discussing the structural integrity of the building. Is that portion of the roof load bearing? I'm assuming the load bearing wall actually sits on the other side of the diagonal portion of that roofing structure, correct?
But it's a mansard roof, so it's kind of like the old western town kind of facade, and then it's got the shingles applied to it to give it the illusion that it's a pitched roof.
So it could be eliminated in theory? Quite easily?
If it
Okay.
needed to be like a pony wall on top of the wall below, that could be feasible.
Yeah, I think one of my concerns is just I drove by the property on the way to tonight's commission meeting, and I don't find the existing shingles particularly attractive. And it seems as though we're replacing them to a bit darker material, which I think is an improvement. But I believe that roof structure still dates the building quite a bit.
Well, it sits kind of far back, and now with the canopy on front, the awning canopy, that kind of hides it as well. So you're only going to see maybe 2 feet of, as that picture shows, you're going to only see like a little slice of roofing material. And we were trying to be faithful to the original building. If this is supposed to be also, we're responding to the Historic Commission as well and keeping the old materials, but kind of upgrading them, updating them. So that was the intent there,
Got it.
not to start changing the building.
Has the applicant, so the patio area, it looks to be around 1,500 square feet of patio. What's the rough square footage of the patio space? 1,700. And the applicant intends on demoing the existing asphalt and just putting down concrete?
Yeah, like a scored concrete, like 8-foot sections.
Has the applicant explored any other materials other than concrete?
Ernie?
Concrete was suggested by, well, most of the patios are all concrete down there, so we just went with, me and the owner of the property walked it, and everything's concrete down there. So we thought to simplify it, let's just match what they got.
Yeah, stamped concrete.
Who has stamped concrete?
This one
Oh,
does, right? It's a scored
scored.
concrete. Okay.
Scored and then sealed.
Scored
It has
means
like,
it's gonna be like 8-foot tiles,
Yeah.
we're gonna soft cut.
so like large tiles. And then can be grouted in to make it look like tiles.
Yeah, I mean, so going on what was said earlier, I mean, I would premise all of my comments tonight with we want to provide the applicant a way to move forward, and a path to do so. But I personally I have a big concern about just the material of the patio, and the improvements that are being proposed. To look at the design guidelines that were approved, the design guidelines specifically call for properties to, properties on Gilbert Road here to be iconic, active, friendly, interpretive, and welcoming. And I just don't see this fitting any of those really. And downtown Gilbert is an incredibly competitive market with a lot of outstanding operators, best in class operators, in my opinion. And I almost feel like the applicant may be, selling himself short on what the potential for the project is. I understand he wants to save costs, but I also know that concrete's gone from $27 a yard from third quarter of last year to $100 a yard.
More like $200 a yard.
Okay, so $200 a yard. So I would say I think you have an outstanding opportunity with this patio space to create a more inviting, active, welcoming patio that could be done with a mixture of softscape, landscape, and different elements. And I would point you to multiple purveyors in downtown Gilbert, such as Bergie's, Joe's, the Bacchus News. They at least break up the concrete, so it's not just 1,700 feet of cold, uninviting concrete. And I actually think it might save him money in the long run because concrete is so high. I'm not a contractor and I don't do pricing, so maybe I'm wrong. But I would like the applicant to potentially explore that.
Are you talking like pavers?
I would suggest that the applicant maybe works with staff on a couple of options. That it could be a combination of pavers, crushed granite, trees, pots, turf.
Is this something we can move forward with and come up with suggestions as we're breaking ground?
One of the options is that we can add some conditions. That is an option. We've not gotten there yet, but that is an option.
I agree too. I think if we could break up the concrete and just put some plants or something in there, even some turf. I know that's a lot cheaper, but Joe's Barbecue in Topo, it's got that big turf area that's really inviting to hang out and for families and people to gather. And I feel like this is a really great opportunity for it. As far as the parapet wall goes on the front of the building, I know that is an extra expense, but back to signage and where it would go, what I think would look really great on this building would be to do a 3-foot wall along the front, get a nice neon sign with your logo and everything on there. And then on that on the left side where that fire area is, you could do some sort of mural or something that kind of goes with it, and it'd be really good advertising and marketing for your company, to where people are wanting to take pictures, stand in front of it, post it on their Instagram, share it with their friends and whatnot, tie it together. And I just feel like that would make it a more modern, clean look. It wouldn't change a ton of the look of the building, but it would clean it up and just make it, more of a place that people would want to go and take pictures and be there and hang out, more of an experience. So just some thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about getting rid of the shingles and going up with a 3-foot wall? And that'll act as the screen wall?
That'll act as the screen wall. And then that sign, because I was thinking about the sign being on the corner, because that is a big deal, but I'm worried that it needs to be higher and it almost needs to be centered. So as soon as people are driving north on Gilbert Road, because Cream Street is going to block this a lot if you're headed that direction. But if it's right there, then people can see it and be like, oh, that's new. I want to eat there. And they're going to be competing with Cream Street. They're not. But I'm saying it's 2 ice cream stores next to each other. Like, I think you guys already have a huge advantage because you have outdoor seating. And if we could soften that up and make it to where a kid can kind of run around in there, you have it fenced in to where people know their kids aren't going to run on the street. It's genius. Now, if we could just soften it up and make it a little bit more friendly and a little bit more like where people want to take pictures and want to hang out there, I think you'll do really well.
I agree with you guys. All your suggestions are very good. I just know my client wants to move forward. We started this 2 years ago when COVID first hit. We had the permit, and we started redoing this 2 years ago. So he's ready to move.
I think so too. And I'm, I don't do commercial, but I do residential contracting. And I know it's always better to just figure out and get a solid plan and move forward. Because anytime you change plans after the project's already begun, it costs way more money, way more problems, and way more delays.
But the exterior won't delay.
It won't. But as long as there's just a plan of what it is.
2 weeks to redo the design, 3 weeks for you guys. Is it 3 weeks or 60 days? How long was the review? 60 days for the review. And then it gets declined. Then 2 weeks for them to redo it. Then 60 days for the review.
That would be more of a question for staff, and maybe there's some conditions we can put in or something on there that could allow you guys to start doing something on the inside or getting something going, or you can't do anything until you have it 100% all the way through. I don't know. It's hard to say because I know he wants to get it done, but I also feel like he's so close that if he just does a few things, that could maybe even end up costing the same price. If he does less concrete, add some turf, add some plants, does some gravel areas with plants in them, that could actually offset the cost of doing that parapet wall. And then in the end, it's just going to be a much better product, and his business is going to do better. Or if he decides to sell it, it'll sell for more and just be more desirable.
Yeah, we can easily submit a landscape plan for the inside of that patio. I mean, to throw DG in there, it'd be a lot easier. We could DG where the fire line's going to go. We can throw turf in there. I agree. I think that's all stuff that's at the end of the project, so we have plenty of time to get it through you guys while we do the rest of the work.
I think as far as us, we're just design review. So we just look at it, kind of give our opinions to kind of see what it needs to be designed. But the actual code and the actual logistics of how it all works, that's all in the town with the engineers and all their processing. But with us, it's just the design on what it is. So if we can put a condition in there that can still get it approved, then I think that's fine. But I do think, it would need a little bit more work to just kind of give it the vibe and the feel that it needs and that it deserves.
Yeah, and we're not. We feel for your client, but at the same token, your client went through a study session with this commission for the project 2 years ago, and for some reason that was avoided this time. Some of this stuff would have been brought up in a study session and could have been incorporated tonight, so that you could have had a much cleaner vote. But yeah, I completely agree with Commissioner Bigelow. I think, there's an opportunity, for him to potentially not have to spend money in certain areas that are shown on this plan. I mean, with the right natural shade structure of a tree in the properly placed areas, some of these umbrellas could potentially go away that are shown above the chairs, above the tables. I also think it could even eliminate the need for these two steel poles right on Gilbert Road that just kind of sit there for the purpose of stringing lights, and those trees could also provide natural structures to string lights from, or decorate and hang lights in, providing lights. Do I have any other comments, questions?
Well, I think it's on us to ask staff if we can move forward setting additional conditions that have already been laid out.
Commissioner Kendall, Chairman, Commissioners, it appears that the items that are of concern, you have two options. You can continue it, or you can approve with conditions if you'd like. Items that were mentioned were incorporating a misting system, removing a large part, if not all, of the concrete and providing a softer surface and landscaping on the interior of the patio, providing signage or some type of artistic feature on the riser room wall. The two items I wasn't clear on, if you were all in agreement or not, were the facade, whether you wanted the mansard roof changed to a different screen type roof, and the poles, whether you wanted a different type of more natural tree-like support. But you could certainly condition any or all of those items and have it come back to staff for approval, or if you're not comfortable with that, you could certainly continue it. But I think those were the main concerns, unless I've missed anything that someone brought up.
And Commissioner Bigelow, on the roof, correct me if I'm wrong, we're discussing squaring off the building essentially.
Yeah, I think just because it's a block building, and it's great that they're keeping the same openings for the windows and the doors. They're just moving it. So structurally, I don't see why there shouldn't be a problem that they could continue going up on that same roof line and just block it off, give it a nice squared look, have the awning coming out from underneath it, and having a nice neon sign advertising their company just right there. And then on that lower section, having some sort of art mural. I think it would give it a lot more curb appeal, and it would look like, wow, this is actually really cool. Like, this building and what they've done with this, and just, kind of seeing the evolution of downtown. I think it would tie in and fit really well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, which is why I asked why it was structural, and I can appreciate the attempt of the historic comment that you made earlier, but in my opinion, we're not preserving anything of historic value. We're preserving kind of an ugly architectural feature, and squaring it off, I think, actually contemporizes the building and makes it a lot more attractive and appealing and inviting from the street. So
It'll give it a little bit more height. Doesn't need a ton more, but makes it not so offset with all the other buildings that we're doing. Just give it a little bit something. I think it would look really good.
And a very clear signage.
That's the biggest thing, because when you see that, you want people to know that this is there, and we want people to eat ice cream and sit there, not people getting creamistry then walking around the corner and thinking, oh, this would be a nice place to hang out. So
does that do anything to the facade wall behind it?
It'll eliminate it. They'll do a moisture barrier to have runoff, and then they'll do proper drainage to where it's probably going on the sides, I'm assuming, because the water has to flow somewhere, but it doesn't matter. They'll do whatever they need to do to waterproof it and make sure it drains properly.
Staff, are there any members of the public in attendance who wish to speak on item DR 21-141, Semino Gelato?
Mr. Chairman, I have no request from the public to speak.
Does the applicant have any additional responses to any of the questions or comments that Commission has presented to you tonight?
We could provide a landscape layout as a part of the condition, showing plans, change of materials, maybe additional shrubs or maybe another tree or two to put the lights in. And I don't know if the code will allow us to string the lights from the trees, but, you know, we can investigate that. So I think if that could be a condition, we could easily submit that. Because we obviously have to submit the drawings anyway, so we could submit the landscape plan with the drawings.
Thank you. Does the commission have any additional questions for staff?
Mr. Chair, and staff, can we attach those string lights to a tree?
Chairman, Commissioner Kendall, yes, as long as the tree is on the inside of the property and not on the town property and not in the street. But yes, if the trees, they would work just like the poles do. The string lights that are within 10 feet of the property line would still need to be hooded and shielded. The rest would not, but certainly they could be strung from a tree to the building instead of a pole to the building.
With that, I will close the public hearing on item DR 21-141, Semino Gelato, and we'll look to the commission for discussion. Who would like to share their thoughts first?
Well, I definitely don't want to disrupt the process, but I also look at design as needing to be such a cohesive train of thought that I feel like we've got a lot of additional conditions on the table that now we're almost asking them to put a bunch of Band-Aids to address all of our additional conditions. So I'm hesitant to personally think that approving it with so many conditions is advisable, because I feel like design needs to just go back and reevaluate and consider all of these suggestions and not just try to react to a bunch of extra conditions.
Can I ask staff, just so we know we're working with the client on actually figuring this out, what is the turnaround time that it would take if they redesigned it and, you know, brought it before us again? How long would it actually take?
The current turnaround time is from when we receive the complete submittal, 15 days, because it goes back to fire, building, engineering, planning.
So then it would have to be done before our next meeting for us to look at it and go through it?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know if I could ask perhaps Jocelyn or Sydney, when does your packet go out, and would that even be, what is the deadline for the next meeting?
The next Redevelopment Commission meeting is April 20th. We wouldn't have to re-advertise this. It would just be continued to a date certain if you decide to do that. So that'd be your motion. And it would have to be submitted to staff 2 weeks prior to when the packet is due, which is the Thursday prior to the hearing. So that would be April 14th. So the applicant would have to submit by March 30th in order to meet our review times.
Even though we closed and we're talking with them, are we allowed to ask the applicant if that's doable?
I think that's a yes.
Okay. Oh,
I don't know. I don't know.
It's hard to say right now whether we'll be able to. Yeah.
are you guys the ones actually designing it and doing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I agree in the sense that it's not a big project and it's not very complicated, but I feel like if staff is saying within, 2 weeks from today, if they have a revision of this, and it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be a 3D rendering, it just has to, just be something to where we can look at it and kind of see that it's headed the direction, then I would be much more comfortable approving it and moving forward, so you guys can start getting going on the inside and doing all that. But that way we at least know that we're kind of on the same page.
So will you be okay with just plan and elevation, just like one showing the patio and exterior elevation, not the rendering and everything?
Yeah, if you guys had, you're saying just like a 2D version of it.
Not the
I think we're all kind of familiar with it, and it's really just one angle we're really looking at. I would feel comfortable with that, just to make it easy on you guys to, get it done quicker and get it resubmitted. Because it really is just this one angle that we're really talking about. And so I think a 2D rendering, we're not moving the building forward or back. We're doing a little fire safety, but other than that, it's pretty similar. How do you guys feel?
Is the renderist in-house, or was that done third party?
in-house.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree with everybody's comments. I mean, the goal here, once again, my goal is to provide the applicant with a path forward. Like, I get 2020 was hard on a lot of people. Construction costs have increased, and I truly believe that we need to provide a path for him to make the most out of his property and find value there and start generating income. So I want to provide that path. To Commissioner Meehan and Commissioner Bigelow's point, I think the balance is we essentially had a small study session tonight that we wish had been brought to us before what we would take a roll call vote on. So the question is, what actually helps your client get to it faster? An approval with a long list of conditions, and working with staff to work through and meet all of those conditions, or taking everything that was learned this evening and potentially having a clean approval in 30 days, or the date that staff had mentioned.
I think the conditions would be more immediate, because then we know exactly what the bullets are, and then we meet those. We have redone this so many times, because every time somebody else looks at it, they ask for more stuff or different stuff, or we change what we just did. So from our point of view, and I would probably speak for our client as well, that if we had the bullets, the conditions, we can respond directly to them. And if you want the landscape plan and all those other things, I would feel more comfortable having the approval so we can, meet the stipulations rather than a moving target every time.
And with that, I guess I have a question for staff. How specific can those conditions be?
Chairman, you can make the conditions as specific as you would like, unless our attorney feels differently.
You're going to have to write the conditions or name them and say it properly, because I'm not going to.
And I did take some notes on the items of concern. The first condition would be that the concrete or a large portion of the concrete be replaced with a soft surface with landscaping. The second condition would be that the mansard roof be removed and be replaced with, that I wasn't sure.
Parapet?
A parapet?
Yeah.
A parapet wall, which would also screen the mechanical equipment, so there'd be no need for the faux chimney. That the riser room wall be provided with some type of artwork. That a misting system be provided. And that the poles for the string lights at the street side of the elevation be removed and replaced with trees to string the lights.
I think that, and then maybe just, even if they take one of their existing logos, or just give us an idea and have it on the parapet so we can just kind of see it all together, if that's necessary, or if we're allowed to ask that.
Well, that would be if you're continuing it to come back. If you're conditioning it, then the signage comes to staff anyway.
That will remain, correct?
The-
It was already listed as a condition, the signage.
That is correct. The signage was already covered in a condition.
Does
So
that
the-
cover artwork as well?
No, the artwork would have to be a separate condition. Staff cannot, how do we explain our rules on artwork? We can review the artwork. We can't dictate what artwork is there, but you could certainly give a dimension of the artwork or where on the riser room wall you would like the artwork.
Yeah, I think, again, to try and give some flexibility for the applicant, I'd like the condition on removal of the concrete to include but not be limited to things like pavers, crushed aggregate or crushed granite, grass, landscaping, trees, shrubs, all approved by the town's approved landscape palette. But the goal again, he's going to be there removing a bunch of asphalt, and putting in a $200 a yard concrete just seems like a miss. And
I'm curious. Across the street, there's I can't remember the name of it, but they have turf there.
They have turf there across the street, and that don't look good. You guys are happy with turf?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. So it's
Across
hard
the
to-
street, there's another bar. It's fairly new.
on the same side of Gilbert Road, or
Across the street from Gilbert, across the street from Semino, across Gilbert Road.
yeah.
No, not Barrio Queen. It's more south.
Pomo, Zinberger, Oregano's.
Can we pull it up?
It's-
Formerly Nico, now the little bar that's going in there.
Yes.
Actually,
The yard, the yard maybe.
No, not the yard.
The porch. Sorry,
Porch.
the porch.
It's the porch. They have turf in there, and that does not look good.
so I would answer it like this. I'd like to give your client and the applicant the freedom to decide whether he wants turf or real grass, or maybe he doesn't want any grass. I'm not saying there needs to be grass. What I'm saying is I think 1,700 feet of concrete is not going to be, it's not going, I think he's cutting himself short, and he's just not going to draw the people in like he could. If you look at, there's some great examples around town. House of Tricks in Tempe does an incredible job of creating this outdoor landscaped area and mixed into this outdoor environment with trees and natural shade features and lights strung from the trees. If you've ever been there at night, tables where you can eat, dine, drink, or in your case, or your applicant's case, have a cup of gelato. Also, I mean, LGO does a good job of it in Arcadia off of 40th and Campbell on the north side of their building. Joe's Real Farm Grill does a good job in Southeast Gilbert of creating great spaces where families and kids can go and hang out, and that is a huge part of the market down here in downtown Gilbert, and he will benefit at the end of the day because of it. I mean, you need to look no further than Joe's Real Barbecue and Bergie's immediately to the south of this site.
I live by downtown Gilbert. I go there almost every weekend, and I didn't even know Joe's Barbecue had a patio.
Yes, big one on
And I
the
eat there.
south side.
I eat inside, and I did not know they had an outdoor patio.
Yep.
So
And something about the porch, the one you're saying with the turf, that is unique about there is they, instead of doing a metal fence to block in, they have a little gate, but they have planters around the perimeter with plants in it, which just greens it up, makes it feel more natural, and just kind of gives it a good feel. So,
Yeah, and so to answer your question, I'm not saying he has to use turf. I mean, I want to give the applicant, including but not limited to, it could include some of that, but I'd like to see a variety of materials that creates an inviting and energetic and active space that frankly can also somewhat take your eyes off the building and put the attention onto the patio space. So.
And Chairman Sidney Bethel came up with some sample stipulations. If I could read them, maybe something you'd like to use. The first one is prior to submittal of construction documents, the applicant shall submit a landscape plan to the Planning Division for staff review and approval. The concrete located on the patio shall incorporate some form of landscaping to soften the patio. Then another stipulation, while we did go through a list of things, you don't necessarily have to put that list in a stipulation. It could read, prior to submittal of construction documents, the applicant shall submit revised elevations and colors and material board to the Planning Division for staff approval. The modifications to the colors and materials and elevation shall incorporate the Redevelopment Commission's architectural comments from the March 16th Redevelopment Commission meeting. So you can be specific and go through all 5 items, or you could just use 2 more general stipulations if you wish to not continue it. But certainly you can always continue it if that's what your preference is.
Any other comments? At this time, I guess I would look to the commissioners for a motion. Am I able to make a motion?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I would make a motion to approve item DR 21-141, including the conditions 1 through 6 that staff had provided, and to include additional conditions that would require the applicant to remove the asphalt shingle portion of the top of the roof, providing planning and staff the ability to approve basically building up a parapet or building up a squaring off the building, as well as eliminating the concrete. Yeah, eliminating the concrete soft surface with landscaping that could include pavers, grass. Like to see some sort of art incorporated on the riser room, the inclusion of a misting system, and removal of the poles and replace those with natural shade creating structures such as trees, or trees specifically.
Can I ask a question? Will those conditions come back to the commission or just strictly to staff?
Chairman, Commissioner Kendall, I would add to the chairman's stipulation that prior to submittal of construction document, that those conditions be approved by the planning manager. So they would not come back to you.
At this point, are we looking for a second?
And also, Chairman, you had mentioned conditions 1 through 6. I did add a 7th condition, so if you wouldn't mind amending your motion for conditions 1 through 7, plus the additional conditions that are on that sheet in front of you, and that would be prior to construction document review, that these be submitted and approved by the planning manager for conformance to the conditions set forth this evening.
Not a problem.
And I don't know if you need to repeat that, or if our attorney
I can repeat it.
Okay, if you would like.
All right. So yeah, I would make it a motion to approve item DR 21-141, Semino Gelato, with the conditions 1 through 7 that staff had set forth, but then also to include additional conditions that would be as follows. I guess it would be condition number 8, that they remove the mansard roof and replace it with a straight walled structure or parapet. that they would incorporate some sort of art onto the riser room, that they would, that would be condition number 9. Number 10 would be the inclusion of a misting system. 11 would be the removal of the poles that applicant is to replace with trees that are approved by the town's approved landscape plan. And then number 12, the elimination of the concrete patio in place of something of soft surface with landscapings that could include pavers grass, crushed granite, shrubs, etc. All of which need to be prior to submittal of the construction documents. They need to submit plans that are reviewed and approved by the planning director.
I believe that's correct. Thank you.
I second.
Okay, so I've got a second. So a motion was made by myself, Theodore Clausen, and seconded by Vice Chair Kendall. I'll now take a roll call vote. Commissioner Meehan.
I do not approve.
Commissioner Bigelow.
I approve.
Commissioner Kendall.
Approve.
And I approve. The motion passes 3-1. And thank you for your presentation, and thank you to the applicant for their presentation and work and sticking with it.
Thank you, Chairman and Commission.
I don't have any updates at this time. Are there any communications from our council liaison, Councilmember Tilkey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a few since our last meeting. I did want the commission to know that we should have the additional position approved by your next meeting. And we started a new process in which we are actually doing video interviews in addition to your written application and an interview with the council. So you guys got in under the wire, so congratulations. And but I think it's going to really provide us an opportunity to make sure that people know the commitments and are going to be able to stay. And we'll have a full board here for you shortly. And I wanted to also just take a moment and say that I can really tell that this commission has turned the corner where you're feeling much more comfortable in your duties. And I appreciate the questions and all of the thought that you put into this case and the one that we've had before, and just wanted to share that with you. One of the items that the council approved at our last meeting was we adjusted some of the water and environment services rates, which will be go into effect April 1st. We had a financial retreat, which lasted a full day, and so that very good information. I won't go through all of it, but in preparation of budget that's coming up soon. And then I wanted to share that we kicked off our community engagement task force a little over a week ago, and so we're really excited to get that underway, and you'll be hearing more about that. And with that, Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Tilkey. Commissioners, do you have any updates you would like to share? Amanda, is there a report from staff?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we actually have Sydney Bethel here who's going to provide you a Heritage District update. Good evening, commissioners. A lot of things happen in the Heritage District. There's always things going on, and you guys don't always get to review items such as CIP projects or learn about new businesses that are coming into the district beyond new builds. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to just provide a brief overview of the Heritage District and all of the items that happened in 2021 and up to date in March of 2022. So every year we complete a return on investment analysis, and you did previously hear these numbers, but I just wanted to provide an overview of our 2021 fiscal year numbers again. For sales tax, the Heritage District accounted for approximately 1% of the town's total sales tax collected for FY21 at approximately $1.2 million. The estimated full cash value for 1 acre in the Heritage District was approximately $1.5 million an acre for fiscal year 21. And our return on investment, which means for every $1 publicly invested, we do a calculation on how much we are seeing in return, was approximately $1.47. So here's just a breakdown for you guys to kind of see those graphics, to kind of break down how we collect that data and what it looks like over the years. So up in the top left corner, you're going to see the HD sales tax by fiscal year. So we have about 10 years of reporting there for you. As you can see, it's been a steady uptick since fiscal year 2011 with a slight dip in 2020, but then back above where we were at in 2019 and 2021. We have here that there was an increase in the last 10 years of 198% for sales tax collection in the area. This actually outpaced the townwide sales tax collection of 131% over the same period, which is very exciting. Additionally, as you'll see here, we have a breakdown in the bottom portion of the full cash value per acre. So we've been collecting that since 1995. In green, you're going to see the buffer area, which we provided a map for you to see where we're collecting our data from. And in red, you're going to see the Heritage District outline there. As you can see in 2021, the Heritage District fully surpassed the buffer area by quite a substantial amount. And this equated to approximately $350,000 more than the buffer area. And just for your reference, this is kind of the breakdown of how we do that return on investment with every dollar that the town puts in, how much we're getting back on there. So you can see the value on the top, and that contains value of land, buildings, sales tax, land sales, and then the investment that we put in there. So a majority of it is CIP or capital improvement projects, but you'll also see staff times put in there. So there are 2 dedicated staff members, both Amanda and I. We do have a bike unit that does have 7 officers and a sergeant, and then there's also some other miscellaneous expenses. So we talk about the district being 0.3 square miles all the time, but what does that exactly equate to? So the district is approximately 168 acres. The town-owned land is highlighted in yellow. So presently we own approximately 55 acres. You'll see on there, for example, the Heritage North project is up highlighted in the northern part of the district. That will be sold off to a developer, so we'll lose about 10 acres there. And there's also a couple additional items that are under redevelopment under vacant land. So currently 36.7 acres is vacant in the Heritage District currently, but this number does include the Heritage North project, which will be redeveloped, hopefully breaking ground at the end of the year. Also Aspire Heritage District, which is halfway completed. That's located on the east side of the district, and that's 2.47 acres. And then also the Park project, which is about 1/4 of an acre. So if we subtract that, there's only about 20 acres of land that actually is available and will remain vacant and doesn't have approved plans on it. So this is just a comparison of our square footages of existing developments in the Heritage District. So we break it down by office, retail. Just keep in mind retail also does encompass some other commercial buildings such as Hale Theater and some of those entertainment uses, restaurant, and then multifamily. So on the left-hand side, we have our square footages of existing developments, which equates to a little under 800,000 square feet of developments in those categories. And then we have future developments, which a majority of this is the Heritage North project, but it does include some other developments as well, which equates to about 560,000 square feet of future developments that have been approved by you guys through design review or are in construction right now. So we had a couple new businesses locate in the Heritage District in 2021. We actually had 13 locate. On the screen here, I have 7 businesses just to highlight for you guys. As you can see, there is quite a large variety of restaurant, bar, retail, and a bunch of different options and amenities for the community. We also are welcoming, and you guys have heard these updates as well, a couple new businesses to the district. So we have had 6 businesses announced coming to the Heritage District soon. And actually, we found out today, as of 3 p.m., that the bar, which is located where Copper 48 once was, did open at 3 p.m. today. So that is a Pulp Fiction themed bar that did open as of 3 p.m. today. I called them to make sure they're actually open because they snuck up on us so quickly. So right now in the district, just to give you guys an overview and kind of a visual representation of what's going on, we do have 4 construction projects happening. 2 of them are our public capital improvement projects. The first being our largest, which is ADA sidewalk repair and Heritage Center site ADA improvements. So this is located in the Lacey Track neighborhood, which is in the southwest portion of our district. And this kicked off in the beginning of January and is expected to be completed by summer of 2022. We also are in the middle of our build up for the 4th floor of the university building. So we're welcoming U of A, who's expanding there. Liberty Market is also experiencing a tenant improvement right now. They were supposed to open in the beginning of March, but they're having some construction delays. So they did open their patio, and you can go visit there today and eat at the restaurant on the patio. And the rest of the restaurant is expected to be open within the next month or so, subject to construction delays. And our 4th one is Aspire Heritage District, which is our for sale multifamily project that's located in the eastern portion of the district. It's been under construction for about a year and a half, and they have been selling off the homes as they're completed. So they've sold about half their products, and those are completely done. But you'll notice on the west side of the property, they're still working on those homes there. They're expected to be completed in the next few months, and they're coming towards that date, but it's still under construction, and we're excited to see them finally finish up construction there. So this is a lot of big, overwhelming map, but we are very excited that there were 6 projects that were included in the recent street transportation and infrastructure bond. So this was certified by council, the election results at the end of last year. So these 6 projects here, many of which were included in our 2018 redevelopment plan, will be funded through the bond. So it has the potential of starting design on some of these projects at the start of fiscal year 23, which would be July. So these projects, it takes years. There's many other projects that are located on here, but it's great news that they were included with the bond, and we have the potential to move forward with some of these projects throughout the district and achieve that vision of our 2018 redevelopment plan. So currently, we have a lot of different studies and plans and future CIP projects that staff is working on every day. So some of them that I've highlighted are the Heritage District Parking Master Plan. So we had a 2015 plan that we completed to assess the parking in the downtown and then have a path forward to manage it. And we're currently in the process of updating that plan. It should hopefully be completed by this year. In addition to that, we are completing a master circulation plan. So in this plan, we are taking all of our existing future CIP projects and all of our other types of planning transportation documents and putting them in one neat plan so that we're coordinating together for those items. Additionally, we have a drainage and stormwater study, a utility study, and we also just kicked off in the beginning of January the design portion of the water tower park rehab. So it is currently going through a redesign process. So you guys will see that it will be brought to the Redevelopment Commission when the design is further along, hopefully in the summer for review and comment. They do hope to actually start construction by 2023, by the middle of 2023. So hoping to have plans completed by the end of this year. And then also the Patio, which you guys have seen, the 15% plans will be completed by April, and we will have those available for you. So some fun events that are happening. If you guys haven't heard about it, we have an event happening right now called Let the Good Times Roll. This is actually the first pop-up and temporary roller rink in Gilbert, and it's located right here in our Heritage District. So it's located between Water Tower Plaza and the Park and Ride lot on Ash Street. So this is a roller rink that is free to the public during the Monday through Thursday hours from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then on the weekends, it is $5 per person. And this does include skates and is open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday through Sunday. It's been really well received so far. Everyone's having a great time. So get your skates on, get out there. We also are in the middle of our Water Tower Spring Concert Series, which is also free to the public, and it is every Wednesday in March from 10:30 to 1:30 p.m. in Water Tower Plaza. And then coming soon, at the end of March, we have the Gilbert Global Village Festival, which has been located in the Heritage District in the past, and we are excited to welcome them back. And that celebration will be happening the 25th and the 26th in the Heritage District. And just one last update, we have talked about this previously, but we are in the RFP process for the South Anchor. So this is identified as one of our catalyst projects in our 2018 redevelopment plan. So it's located at the west corner of Gilbert and Elliott. It's approximately 2.18 acres, and we put the parcel out to RFP. It's town-owned land to be privately developed in a similar manner to the Heritage North project. So we did go through the process of the advertisement, and we did have interviews and with developers, and we are now in the process of developer selection. So just wanted to give you an update that we are still working on that, and hopefully we'll be moving forward soon. And I know that was a lot, and I tried to speed run it. There's just so many exciting things happening that we just wanted to make you guys all aware. And you guys can always reach out to Amanda and I if you have any questions about anything in this presentation or ever want any additional updates.
Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate it. Yeah, it reminded me I had a call with Placer this last week, and I wanted them to compare just overall the number of visits with the Heritage District versus I wanted to look at Santan Marketplace. And Heritage District drew the same amount of bodies annually as all of Santan Marketplace, which I thought was kind of incredible when you look at like the scope of Santan Marketplace versus the Heritage District. I was like, that's really cool. It was slightly lower, but I mean, we're talking. Yeah, I mean, it was slightly lower, but it was close. I mean, you're just like, wow. So, anyways, so thank you. Yeah, with that, I will adjourn this evening's meeting. It's 7:16 p.m. Thanks, everybody.